So yesterday we had a class on dentition, right? We talked about the mammalian tooth. Okay, so where we discussed about the external structure and the internal structure of teeth for mammals, and we considered three different mammals, which is we considered man, sheep, and dog. So we looked at the different types of um, teeth, where we have the incisor, the canine, the premolar, and molar. All right, so we looked at the functions of the different types of teeth, and we looked into the dental formula of um, the teeth, of the types of teeth, all right, in accordance to the different mammals that we looked into. All right, so today we are moving to the mammalian alimentary canal. Mammalian alimentary canal. Okay, so when we talk of mammalian alimentary canal, what comes to your mind? What do we mean by alimentary canal? Don't forget that your the set of teeth, your mouth, and your full digestive systems occurs in your alimentary canal. Those organs, they are found in your alimentary canal. So the alimentary canal encompasses all the organs, okay, all the organs that functions in digestion. Okay, so we are looking into the mammalian alimentary canal today. So I'm going to be showing you the diagram of the alimentary canal so you can have the idea of what we mean by the mammalian alimentary canal. All right, so I'm going to be showing you the diagram. Then I'm going to be using the diagram to explain the different organs in the alimentary canal. All right, so we are going to be starting with the diagram, right? We're going to be starting with the diagram. As you can see on the board, we have the alimentary canal here. We have the alimentary canal here. All right, as you can see, this is the alimentary canal. Okay, so your digestion cannot occur or take cannot take place in the absence of alimentary canal. So alimentary canal encompasses all the organs, all the organs, all the organs in digestion. Okay, so we are going to be starting with the definition of alimentary canal. What do we mean by alimentary canal? This is it here on the board, as you can see. And what is the function? Why do we have alimentary canal? What is the function of alimentary canal? Okay, so the alimentary canal is the same thing as the digestive tract. Digestive tract. Okay, just like I explained earlier that the alimentary canal functions in digestion. Okay, so without the alimentary canal, there is no digestion in humans or in mammals. So the alimentary canal is the same thing as the digestive tract. All right, functions in digestion. All right, so it is a long tube. As you can see, it is a long tube that runs from the mouth. This is the mouth here. So it runs from the mouth to the anus. Okay, it runs from the mouth to the anus. That is the alimentary canal. As you can see, the long tube coming from the mouth. All right, as you can see, the long tube coming from the mouth, it runs, even though there are some other organs attached to it, okay, then it runs to the anus and ends at anus. All right, so it is responsible for, the digestion, absorption of food. Okay, that is the function of the alimentary canal. So it is responsible for digestion. All right, it is responsible for digestion, responsible for absorption of food, as you cannot digest food without you taking it in first, which is via mouth. All right, so the digestive system or the alimentary canal is what you can see here on the bird and is responsible for the digestion and absorption of food. Okay, so this is the structure, and we are going to be taking a look at each of the structure, each of the organs. All right, so starting from the mouth. So for you, for food to be digested, of course, you need to take it in first via your mouth. If food is not in your mouth, there is no way it can come to the other organs that you are seeing here. So it has to come through your mouth. So digestion occurs from the mouth. It starts from the mouth. All right. So the mouth, as you can see, you have the tongue, you have the teeth, and you have the salivary gland. You have the salivary gland. Okay, as you can see here on the bird, you have the salivary gland, you have the teeth, and you have the tongue. That is what is inside your mouth. Okay, so these three structures, they come together, they function together to um chew the food, to bring the food to the other parts that um needs to function in digestion. All right. So when you put food in your mouth, you chew. Of course, you chew with your teeth, and then it is the teeth that breaks the food down. All right. So when you chew the food in your mouth, when you chew the food in your mouth, it's the salivary glands secretes what we call an enzyme, especially when you eat carbohydrates. Let's say you eat rice now. So when you put the rice in your mouth, there is an enzyme from the salivary glands. All right, the enzyme known as amylase. So the enzyme acts on the food in order to break it down. Okay, so it starts from the mouth. All right, so from the mouth, it comes to the esophagus. As you can see here, you can either call it esophagus. This is the um language pronunciation, or British. The British one is esophagus. Okay, so you can either call it esophagus or esophagus. All right, so as you can see here from the mouth, the food comes via the tube, as you can see here on the bird, to the esophagus, passing through the esophagus. And what is the function of the esophagus? It comes, it contracts. All right, so it contracts is like a wave-like muscles. Okay, it's like a wave-like muscles. It contracts to move the food to the stomach. It's like something is pumping. All right, so that is the function of the esophagus. So as you are taking the food, the esophagus is contracting the food and pushing it to the right location, to the right place. That is the function of the esophagus. So it moves in a wave-like way. It's a wave-like muscles. All right. So it contracts the food and move it to the stomach. You can see coming here and move to the stomach. Here is your stomach. Okay. Here is your stomach, and then it moves the food to the stomach. So when it gets to the stomach, what does the stomach do? What is the function of the stomach? As you can see, the shape of the stomach, it's a J shape, forming something like this. So we call it J shape. All right, so it is a J-shaped organ with gastric glands. So it's just as you can see it on the bird, it is a J-shaped organ. All right, and the function is that when you eat and it passes through the esophagus, it stores temporarily in the stomach. All right, it stores temporarily in the stomach. Okay, so and it secretes pepsin and hydrochloric acid to digest protein depending on what you are eating at that moment. All right, depending on what you are eating at that moment, we are still going into what we call enzymes. We are going into what we call enzymes, the type of enzymes that each of these organs secrete and how they act on each of the food that you eat. Okay, so depending on the food that you eat, the stomach secretes the enzyme, the right enzymes for the class of food that you eat. All right, so that is the function of the stomach. It stores the food temporarily. It stores the food temporarily. All right, so from the stomach, it moves, as you can see the tube, from the stomach, it moves to the small intestine. It moves to the small intestine. All right, so what is the function of the small intestine? You can see the structure, a long cord. You can see how coiled it is. So it is a long coiled tube, a long coiled tube. All right, so it helps in absorption. It helps in an absorption of the food that you have taken in. All right, so it is the small intestine, all right, that absorbs the food. Okay, it absorbs the food and also helps in nutrients, like absorbs nutrients into the blood from the food that that you have eaten. All right, so when the food comes from the stomach and comes to the small intestine helps to absorb the nutrients from the it helps to absorb the nutrients. It absorbs the nutrients in the food that you have taken in. Okay, so when it absorbs the nutrients, then it helps to the blood. It diffuses it to the blood. All right, so that is the function of the small intestine. It absorbs the nutrients from the food that you have taken in from the stomach. All right, coming from the stomach to the small intestine. So it is the small intestine that absorbs whatever nutrients is in that food, then into the bloodstream. All right, so that is the function of the small intestine. So from the small intestine, you can see something around the small intestine big, right? So we call this the large intestine. As you can see, it is larger than the small intestine, hence the name large intestine. All right, so it is the large intestine. It's a wide tube that absorbs water. It absorbs water and minerals. All right, it absorbs water and minerals. Don't forget, the food that you have eaten comes to the stomach, and from the stomach, the small intestine absorbs the nutrients in that food. All right, absorb the nutrients in that food then to into the bloodstream. Okay, so don't forget that if the small intestine absorbs the nutrients in that food, definitely there are some things that are not needed in that food. That is why we say the small intestine absorbs the nutrients. So the ones that are not needed in your body, the ones that are not nutrients, the ones that are not useful to your body system, they come to the large intestine. The large intestine absorbs them. All right, it absorbs water and also the food, the things, the particles that are not needed in your body, the waste forms the feces in the large intestine. So it is large enough to accommodate those waste that are not needed in your body. And that is where your feces is formed. That is where your feces is formed. All right, whereby you pass it out via your anus. Okay, so that is the function of the large intestine. That is the function of the large intestine. So these are the major organs in the alimentary canal. So we still have something we call the liver. We are yet to talk about the liver, the pancreas, the gallbladder. All right. So these ones also they are alimentary canal, but they are not. We don't regard them as the alimentary canal because they function in a little bit different from the organs in the alimentary canal. So the pancreas, which is this, the pancreas, the gallbladder, pancreas, the gallbladder, and the liver. So these three organs, they are known as the accessory organs. We call them accessory organs. We call them accessory organs. Please take note of that. All right. So they are also part of the alimentary canal, but then they function in a different way from the other organs in alimentary canal. So we call the liver, the pancreas, and the gallbladder. These three organs are known as the accessory accessory organs. Okay, the question can come in any way. So it is known as accessory, they are known as accessory organs. And what is the function of the accessory organs? Why do we call them accessory organs? Just as I explained earlier, that they are referred to as accessory organs because of the function in the digestive way. All right, they assist in digestion, but do not directly form part of the alimentary canal. So we call them accessory organs. All right, so food does not pass through them like the other alimentary canal organs, like the esophagus, the stomach, the small intestine, the large intestine. Food does not pass through the pancreas. Food does not pass through the liver. Food does not pass through the gallbladder. So we call those three organs accessory organs. All right, that is why we call them accessory organs. So calling them accessory organs, what is their functions? How do they function? How do they function? All right, so the liver, as you can see here, you can see the structure of the liver. So it is reddish brown. It is a reddish brown organ. As you can see, this is the liver. It is a reddish brown organ, and it produces bile. It produces what we call bile. It produces what we call bile. That is the function of the liver. Okay, so it produces bile, it detoxifies blood. It detoxifies blood. That is one of the functions of the liver. The liver produces bile. The liver detoxifies blood. That is the things that are not needed in the blood. It detoxifies blood, make it clean. All right, removes the things that are not needed. So it detoxifies blood. It stores glycogen and vitamins. Also, it regulates the blood sugar. That is liver. Okay, it regulates the blood sugar rather. It regulates the blood sugar. It detoxifies blood. It produces bile. Functions of the liver. Okay, so and then we have the gallbladder. The gallbladder, which is this. You can see the gallbladder. So if you look at this gallbladder very well, you will see that there is a small tiny tube attaching to the pancreas. If you look at this diagram very well, you will see that the gallbladder from this diagram is green in color. So looking at it, you see a tiny tube coming to the emanating from the pancreas. All right, so you can see from here, this is the pancreas. The pancreas is the yellow part, as you can see on the bird. That's the pancreas. So looking at the gallbladder wall, you see that there is a tiny tube emanating from the pancreas, all right, then coming out. So that is the gallbladder. Okay, and what's the function of the gallbladder? As tiny as it stores and releases bile into the small intestine. Don't forget that the liver produces bile. So when if the liver produces bile, then the gallbladder takes the bile and transfers it. All right, the gallbladder stores the bile and then it releases it into the small intestine. It releases it into the small intestine. All right, so which helps in fat digestion. So that is the function of the gallbladder. It stores the bile and releases it into the small intestine. All right, so that is the function of the gallbladder. Then you have the pancreas. Don't forget that we are still talking about the accessory organs. All right, which are these three organs. They are the accessory organs. We have talked about the liver, we have talked about the pancreas. Sorry, we have talked about the gallbladder. So we want to talk about the pancreas. What is the function of the pancreas? You can see the way it looks. You can see the way it looks, and it is below the stomach. It is under the stomach. The pancreas is under the stomach. As you can see here on the bird, it is under the stomach. And what does it do? It produces digestive enzymes. It produces digestive enzymes. There are different enzymes. So enzymes depends on the type of food, the class of food that you take in. That is what determines the type of enzyme that it secretes. So, like I said earlier, that we are still going to talk about the enzymes. All right. So, the enzymes that is secreted by the pancreas depends on the type of food that you eat. So, if you take carbohydrate, the enzymes, we have different enzymes that act on carbohydrates. All right. So, the amylase can act on it. So if the pancreas secretes amylase, simply means that you have taken a starchy food. All right. So whatever enzyme the pancreas secretes depends on whatever food you take in. Okay. So that is the function of the pancreas. That is the function of the pancreas. So we are going to be looking at the general characteristics of digestive enzymes. The general characteristics of digestive enzymes. So if you have any question, you can ask using the chat box. And don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for you to get some other videos that would be of benefit to you and will help you um, help you achieve success in your exams. All right. So if you have any question, like I said earlier, please do well to ask using the chat box. Do well to ask using the chat box. Okay. So I'm going to be presenting another chart now. Okay. So talking about the enzymes. Before that, talking about the enzymes, okay. So we have different types of digestive enzymes, just like we mentioned in the when I was explaining the alimentary canal. I made mention of enzymes. I made mention of some organs that secrete enzymes and the type of enzymes, which is based on the type of class of food you take in. Okay, so we look into what we call the digestive enzymes, general characteristics, general characteristics of digestive enzymes, general characteristics of digestive enzymes. Okay, so what do we mean by enzymes? What does enzymes do? They are organic substance. They helps in digestion. They helps to speed up chemical reactions. That is the function of digestive enzymes. Okay, so in they work in different ways. So we are going to be looking at the characteristics of digestive enzymes one after the other. So number one, each enzyme, each enzyme acts on a specific substrate. Okay, on a specific substrate. Just like I explained earlier that the enzyme secreted, the enzyme depends on the type of food you take in. For instance, the amylase, the amylase acts starch, on starchy food or carbohydrates generally. The protease acts on protein, acts on protein. Okay, so we have different types of enzymes. We have the lipase. This fats, acts on fat and oil. Okay, so the enzyme secreted depends on the type of food that you take in. All right, so that is one of the characteristics of digestive enzyme. So the second characteristics is that enzyme works at body temperature. It works best at body temperature. Works best at body temperature. So it works best at body temperature. Okay, it works best at body temperature. Also, it is made up of amino acids. It is made up of amino acids. That is, it is proteinous in nature. So enzymes are proteinous in nature. They are made up of amino acids. Okay, and also it speeds up the chemical reactions made of made up of amino acids made up of amino acids. So also it speeds it speeds up reactions. It speeds up reactions in the body. Okay, it speeds up reactions in the body. So we have different characteristics. They also function in liquid environments. They function in liquid environment. So if you take in food, it has to get to where it is where we have um the liquid environment. Okay. So I said earlier that the small intestine secretes enzymes. Okay. So where they function best is liquid environment. So those are the characteristics of enzymes. Those are the characteristics of digestive enzymes. So I'm going to be showing us a chart now talking about the different um, classes of food. And before we go into that, we are going to be looking at just three classes of food according to the syllabus, according to the UTME syllabus for 2025. So we are going to focus on carbohydrates. We are going to focus on carbohydrate, protein, and fats. So these are the three classes of food we are going to focus on. These are the three classes of food we are going to focus on. All right. So I'm going to be showing you a chart now that shows us the different types of enzymes. That shows us different types of enzymes according to the um, classes of food. All right, according to the classes of food. So I'm going to be showing you the chart now so you can see, so that you can see. Okay, so here is it on the bird. So you have the carbohydrates. You have the carbohydrates. You have the carbohydrates, as you can see here. And what is the function of the carbohydrates? You can see we have different um, enzymes working on carbohydrates. We have different enzymes. Okay, so we have different enzymes. We have the salivary amylase. We have the proteolytic. Sorry. So we have the amylase, just as you can see on the bird. Just as you can see on the bird, we have the amylase. Okay, so the amylase works on or acts on starchy food. It acts on starchy food, and the end product is maltose. The end product is maltose. Please take note of the end products. Take note of the end product. Take note of the enzymes. Take note of the enzymes. Take note of the end product of each of these classes of food. That is, after the enzymes might have acted on them, what will be the end product? Okay. So we also have an enzyme known as the maltase. The maltase. So the maltase acts on maltose. That is, any food that has uh, maltose, the maltase is the enzyme that acts on them. And the end product is glucose. The end product of maltase is glucose. Okay, so coming to another enzyme known as sucrase, from the word sucrose. So sucrase acts on the food that has sucrose, acts on the food that has sucrose. Okay, it acts on the food that has sucrose. And then the end product of sucrose is either glucose or fructose. Glucose or fructose. That is the end product of sucrose. Okay, so when sucrose, which is an enzyme, acts on sucrose, the end product is glucose and fructose. Glucose and fructose. So another enzyme, don't forget we are still on carbohydrates. So all these enzymes, they are carbohydrate enzymes. All right. So we also have what we call the lactase. We have the lactase, and the lactase, they act on the food that has lactose. Okay, so the lactase, they act on the food that has lactose, and the end product of lactose is glucose and galactose. Glucose and galactose. That is the end product of lactose. Okay, so I have given you like 5 different enzymes under carbohydrates now. So we have the amylase, all right, salivary amylase. That is the amylase that acts when the saliva, when the food is still in your mouth. All right, so the amylase, the enzyme secreted from the salivary glands, that is the salivary amylase. So we also have another amylase known as the pancreatic amylase. So that this enzyme is secreted in the pancreas. So we call it the pancreatic amylase. The pancreatic amylase. All right, so that is the amylase that secretes from the pancreas. All right, so we also have the maltase, which acts on maltose, and the end product is glucose. We have the sucrase, which acts on sucrose, and the end product is glucose and fructose. We have the lactase that acts on lactose, and the end product of that is glucose and galactose. All right, so those are the enzymes for carbohydrate. So we move to proteins. The enzymes for proteins. Number one is pepsin. Number one enzyme for protein is pepsin. Pepsin. If you're with me, please thumbs up so I can know you are with me. Thank you. All right. So for protein, we also have different enzymes, and number one, we have the pepsin. We have the pepsin. Okay, so what is the function of the pepsin? The pepsin is an enzyme that acts on proteins, and the end product of that is peptides. Peptides. That is the end product of um pepsin. End product of proteins is peptides. End product of protein is peptides. And before it can become peptide, the enzyme pepsin must have acted on the protein, on the proteinous food, before the end product can come as peptides. All right, so the second enzyme under protein is the trypsin. The trypsin. What is the function of the trypsin? The trypsin acts on peptides. The trypsin acts on peptides, and the end product is smaller peptides. The end product is smaller peptides. The end product is smaller peptides. All right, so we move to another protein. We move to another enzyme known as the, as you can see on the bird, as you can see on the bird, we have the peptide. As you can see here, so you have the peptides. Okay, so talking about the proteins, talking about the enzymes for protein, we have talked about the pepsin, we have talked about the trypsin, we have the chymotrypsin, as you can see on the bird, which acts on peptides. So acting on the peptide, the end product is smaller peptides. The end product is smaller peptides. All right, so we move to what we call the fats. We have talked about the carbohydrates, we have talked about the protein. So we want to talk about the fats. All right, so what is the enzyme that acts on fats? The enzymes that act on fat is the lipase. Is the lipase. Okay, is the lipase. All right, so we have the lipase. We have the lipase, lipase, lipase. All right, so this acts on the food that has triglycerides. Triglycerides. Okay, as you can see on the bird, and the end product is fatty acids. Fatty acids. Also, the glycerol. That is the end product. The fatty acids and glycerol is the end product of fat after the enzyme lipase might have acted on it. So the end product is lipase. All right. So these are the classes of food we are going to be talking about today. So we have talked about the carbohydrates, we have talked about the proteins, and we have talked about the fats. So those three classes of food are the ones we will be considering for this class under digestive enzymes. So you need to know the enzymes that belong to each of these classes of food, and you need to know the end product of these classes of food. All right. So I'm going to do a recap of everything we have discussed today. So we talked about the mammalian alimentary canal, talking about, and I told you that the alimentary canal is the same as the digestive tract. Okay, so the alimentary canal consists of different organs, which I showed you the diagram, the location of different organs, how they their position, their functions. All right, how they function, their position, their location in their alimentary canal. And we talked about what their functions are. All right. So we also talked about the accessory organs. The accessory organs is still under the alimentary canal, but then we don't um majorly classify them under alimentary canal because food does not pass through those organs. So we don't regard them as 100% alimentary canal. Instead, we call them accessory organs. And I gave you reasons why we call them accessory organs. That is because food does not pass through them directly, unlike the other organs that belong to the alimentary canal, like the mouth, the esophagus, the stomach, the small intestines, the large intestines. Okay, so food pass through all those organs. So, but for accessory organs, food does not pass through them. That's why we regard them as accessory organs. So, and we talked about the three accessory organs, which are the liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas. We talked about their structure and we talked about their functions. All right, we talked about their functions. Okay, so also we move to the general characteristics of digestive enzymes, and we considered three classes of food, which are the carbohydrates, the proteins, and fats. Those are the three classes of food that we considered. All right, so I want to believe you understand today's topic. Like I said earlier, if you have any question, please you can ask using the chat box, as I am going to be giving us some questions, some past questions. Going to be giving us some past questions on this topic, so you can see how questions come. You can see how their questions look like, and then so you can be familiar with the questions on this topic. All right, so I'm going to wipe off the board now so we can have space to paste our questions. So we can have space to paste our questions, okay? So the number one question, so I'm going to wipe off the board, all right? So number one question is 2024, and I would like us to attempt the questions together. Okay, I would like us to attempt the questions together. All right, so this is 2024 question. 2024 question. And the question says, in mammals, the organ which performs digestive and endocrine function is the dash. A. Liver. B. Pancreas. C. Gastric gland. And D. Salivary gland. If you know the answer, please use the chat box and attempt the question. Okay, I read again. In mammals, the organ which performs digestive and endocrine function is the dash. A. Liver. B. Pancreas. C. Gastric gland. And D. Salivary gland. Don't forget, we talked about the alimentary canal, the alimentary organs, and talking about the function of each of these organs. I mentioned that the pancreas helps in digestion. The pancreas helps in digestion and also in our endocrine function. All right, so it produces digestive enzymes. Don't forget, the pancreas produces digestive enzymes. I can remember I mentioned the amylase, talking about the that said depending on the type or depending on the classes of food that you take in at that moment. That is what determines the type of enzyme that is secreted by the pancreas. So the pancreas helps in digestive enzyme. So it performs digestive and endocrine function. So the answer here, thank you for attempting the question. So the answer is pancreas. Yes, the pancreas. The answer is the pancreas. All right. Thank you. So we move to the next question. I'm going to wipe off this now so I can paste the second question. All right. So the second question is 2023. The second question is 2023 and is still one of the things that we have done today. All right. So it's very simple. You can remember everything that we have discussed today. So it says regulation of blood sugar. Regulation of blood sugar level takes place in the dash. Regulation of blood sugar level takes place in the dash. A. The pancreas. B. Ileum. C. Liver. And D. Kidney. I want you to attempt the question before I say the answer. Okay, so I read again. Regulation of blood sugar level takes place in the dash. A. Pancreas. B. Ileum. C. Liver. And D. Kidney. All right. So according to the explanations that I made earlier, I explained the liver and I said that the liver functions it helps in regulating the blood sugar. I said the liver produces bile, it detoxifies blood, and it helps in regulating blood sugar. So the answer is liver. All right. The answer is liver. Thank you. I'm going to wipe off the board so we can have space for the next question. All right. So the next question is 2020, 2022. The next question is 2022 and it says, the next question says, this question is also one of the things we have done today. It's one of the things we did today. And here we go. The end product of the digestion of carbohydrates is dash. A. Amino acid. B. Glycerol. C. Glucose. And D. Sucrose. So I explained we focused on carbohydrates, proteins, and fats today, and I gave you the end products and enzymes that act on each of these classes of food. So I could remember I mentioned the end product of this. So looking at these options, you can see that glucose is one of the end products of carbohydrates according to the explanations that I gave earlier. And then the chart that I showed you. So glucose is one of the end products of carbohydrates. So this comes to the end of the class for today. And like I always say, please do not skip any of these classes so that you can achieve the what you actually want to achieve so that you can achieve greater success. So do not try as much as possible to always join the class um, on time, promptly. So see you in the next class. Also, don't forget to go to the app, A1 Tutor app, to check more questions. There are numerous past questions on the app that would help you to prepare effectively for your exam. So go through the past questions, check more questions on this topic, and achieve your success. So thank you for joining today's class. If you are yet to subscribe to this channel, please do click on the button and subscribe. See you in the next class. Bye.